Chapter 104. It'll rip your mouth off. San Shi's powers were easily sealed by Juyu, preventing him from using his full strength. After a moment of anger, he gradually calmed down. He had finally witnessed how cruel the powerhouses were to the weak. As long as they didn't like you, they could kill you without much thought. This was the lawless world of cultivators. San Shi finally witnessed the bad side of the cultivation world and thought about how to escape or kill this guy. Kid, are you depressed? Juyu chuckled. Actually, it's one thing to dislike you, but more importantly, we lack sacrifices. Otherwise, we would still have to give the Yao Moon Palace some face. To sacrifice will die, right? San Shi was expressionless. He had already set the resurrection point near the previous location. As long as he die, he would have a chance to escape. You'll definitely die. Enjoy your last moments. Juyu's strange laughter made San Shi want to punch this guy to death. From the corner of his eye, San Shi saw a scar on the other party's neck. His heart skipped a beat. From the looks of it, this person should have suffered some losses in the previous battle. San Shi started to actively plan his escape. While he was thinking, he was brought to a dark room. Juyu, you found the sacrifice so quickly? In the darkness, two green balls of fire appeared. San Shi took a closer look and hurriedly lowered his head. This green fireball was actually a black-robed man. His face was green. It was actually the fellow who had used poison to kill him back then. Coincidentally, I met a guy I didn't like. I'll capture him directly. He is definitely worth 10 sacrificial offerings. Juyu chuckled and threw San Shi on the ground like he was throwing trash. Crash! San Shi's face fell to the ground, and he felt like he had fallen into a sticky liquid. A bloody smell into his nostrils, and a cold and unholy aura appeared around him. He hurriedly shut up, feeling so disgusted that he wanted to vomit. What the hell is this? He raised his head to take a look. He was trapped in a black thing, which emitted a cold aura. There were also hundreds and thousands of figures in the black liquid. There were both men and women, but they were all unconscious. He is actually a guy at the perfected chi refinement realm. His chi and blood are very abundant. He is indeed not bad. It will be completely enough to summon the projection of the evil god. The green-faced man glanced at San Shi and nodded in satisfaction. Because the latter's face was covered in black mucus and his cultivation level did not match what he remembered. He did not recognize this person as the kid who he had casually poisoned to death in the Thousand Poisons mountain range. Just as San Shi thought that there would be less trouble, the green-faced elder's gaze suddenly focused on San Shi's waist. Why does this storage bag look a little familiar? He raised his withered hand and grabbed at the air and a storage bag appeared in his hand. Then, the green poisonous gas flashed and forcefully broke through the restrictions on the bag, and an alms bowl appeared. Damn it, it's really my disciple's bag. The fire in the green-faced man's eyes burned brighter and there was anger in them. He stared at San Shi. Where did you get this? San Shi cursed his bad luck. Why was this guy Haiduzi's master? But he was also not surprised. There was only one person who could use poison in the vicinity. It was not too surprising that the two of them were related. Not talking? The green-faced elder's expression was gloomy. He raised his hand and waved it. With a bang, San Shi was sent flying. His entire body bounced a few times on the mucus and smashed through a wooden building with a bang. What's there to ask? Didn't he just snatch this person's things after killing your disciple? Juyu frowned. A perfected chi refinement cultivator can't kill your avenging disciple? HMPH, Wuji was the most talented in poison among my disciples. In the end, he died for no reason. How can I not be angry when I meet the murderer? He's about to die. His flesh and soul will be swallowed by the evil god and his soul will dissipate. Isn't that enough for you to vent your anger? Juyu waved his fan. So let's not waste time. It wasn't easy for us to sneak over, especially since I was already injured and had to use the facade of recovering from my injuries to cover up my tracks. If we're discovered, this sneak attack will be in vain. Juyu is right. This sneak attack is very important. Green Snake, don't affect the overall situation because of your personal matters. If something goes wrong, the cult master won't be happy. Distantly, a girl's voice sounded. A paper figurine appeared in the darkness. It was the size of a normal person and it looked like a young girl. She was wearing an embroidered red jacket. It looked like the girl next door, but its eyes were dark and its lips were red. It even let out a human voice, looking especially terrifying. "Guardian!" Theppo immediately bowed respectfully. Sanshi was shocked to see this unique paper effigy in the dilapidated wooden building. The two golden core cultivators were so polite. This person's identity was probably not simple. The girl's paper effigy spoke faintly. "Old Snake, get ready to activate the sacrificial array. I'll go and pick up the final sacrifice." In a flash, Jiyu turned into a breeze and appeared beside Sanshi. He picked him up and threw him back into the black mucus. For the second time, Sanshi wanted to grind this guy's bones and scatter his ashes. "How?" someone exclaimed for the second time. This time, it was actually the paper-clothed girl floating in the air. She floated in front of Sanshi and looked at the paper clothes folded in his arms. "Where did you get this?" "It's from a friend, old witch." "Is there a problem?" Sanshi was in a bad mood, and his tone was very harsh. "Old witch." The girl's paper effigy stared at Sanshi. Her eyes seemed to be smiling, but they were actually very cold. "Looks like she's really an old witch and not an old man." Sanshi pursed his lips. He felt that the owner of this paper effigy was at least 800 years old to make Jiyu act so politely. Jiyu and Green Snake looked at each other and were a little speechless. There was actually someone who dared to address Guardian Homulo of the Four Great Guardians so disrespectfully. "What are you waiting for? Activate the heretical god sacrificial spirit array." The girl's voice was clearly colder. If it weren't for the fact that this matter was important, she would definitely skin this guy alive to make a paper effigy. The two of them hurriedly separated and chanted an incantation at the same time. Black runes suddenly appeared on the ground, turning into an unholy and strange array formation. This array formation was hundreds of meters long. The cold black liquid on it seemed to have a life of its own and began to squirm violently. Sanshi felt the black mucus surging towards him. His death was not far away. He no longer held back and continued to mock her. "Old witch, do you look in the mirror at night? Will you get scared because of how ugly you are?" HMPH, the roar of a weakling is similar to a dog barking before it dies. "Do you think he'll be angry with you?" The young paper effigy sneered. "Will even a dog like you? From the looks of you, even a dog would want to avoid you." As soon as Sanshi said this, the female paper effigy, which had just recovered some of its pride, twisted its body for a moment before flashing away. "Poochie!" She slapped his mouth so hard it turned into a meat paste, then tore his mouth apart with both hands. Sanshi's mouth was split into two, and blood gushed out. "I'll tear your mouth apart. Why don't you show me what you've got?" Sanshi was in extreme pain, but he was still holding a grudge. He continued to look down on this old witch with his eyes mockingly. The next second, he became blind.